I'll tell you this, that last week in personal development, we talked about the 4 emotions that can change your life around. If you didn't watch it, please go watch it. It's a very powerful talk. But that brought me to the next kind of point of how do people change? So maybe they can change your life around, but how do we actually, the rubber hits the road, how do people actually change? And when you reverse engineer changing, it gets down to the simple basics. It gets down to your habits, okay? And so I started doing a little bit of research on how can I best describe, share, educate human beings on changing their habits. And, you know, I started burning the midnight oil, and last night in the middle of the night, I found something and I started putting it together in a presentation format, which here we are, okay? And I found this on Psychology Today. The name of the author of the article was a gentleman I want to give credit to, Gustavo Razetti. I don't know anything about him except this article that I read, and I was able to turn it into a presentation for you. So here we go. In order to change your behavior, I think everybody watching this on some level wants to change something in their life, right? And in order to change your behavior, you have to build habits, okay? So making changes is a daunting task. It's something that there's a lot of fear that gets in the way. There's a lot of commitment to comfort and the way things used to be that gets in the way. There is a lot of commitment to the status quo. There is a lot of the fear of the unknown that gets in the way. But all that being said, for whatever reason, we're really good at starting things. People are really good at signing up for the next gym membership or the next group exercise class. People are really good for saying they want to start their diet on Monday. People are really good at saying they want to start reading a book a week or a book a month. However, there is a fall off that we have as human beings, right? And I was teaching this lecture to our group program participants this morning, and I said, hey, going to rehab and getting sober is only the beginning. Now, I never want to minimize that, because I think going to rehab or going to sober living is one of the most monumental moments in a human being's life, because in that moment you said, hey, I want to change the way I engage with drugs and alcohol. I want to change my life. And that's really commendable. However, leaving rehab and staying sober, that's where the work begins. That's where people fall off. And that's like that with every other change that human beings want to make. So it's easy to say, I want to go to the gym and sign up for a gym membership. But did you know that only 24% of all people that have gym memberships actually use them more than 100 days a year? I'll say that again. 24%, so less than a quarter of people that own gym memberships use that gym membership 100 days a year. So what does that tell you about people's commitment to making changes? People always love to start diets on Monday. They binge out on Saturday and Sunday and say, oh, this week's going to be different. Wednesday comes around, they're back doing the same thing again. People can start things. You know, the book. People say they want to read a book a week, but they fall in the trap of like Netflix, and they do a wonderful job with keeping you engaged. As soon as the episode ends, in 3, 2, 1, the next episode begins. You know, you're just like, oh, might as well. So these are all habits that I'm going to talk about, and breaking these and being able to come through the other side. So a quote to consider: we are what we repeatedly do. So excellence is not an act, but a habit. So you, my friends, are exactly what you have repeatedly done to get to this point. So if you look around and you don't like the way you look, if you look around and you don't like the relationships in your life, if you look around and you don't like the money in your bank account, if you look around and don't like the quality of life that you have, I want you to stop and look at all of the habits and behaviors that you have done in recent days, weeks, months, years, and those have brought you to where you are today. Your current circumstance is a byproduct of the habit and the actions that you have repeatedly done over and over again. So a lot of times these are automated. These are just like automatic things that we do. We don't even know we're doing them, right? It's kind of like driving on cruise control and getting to your destination, not knowing how you got there, but you got there. So building habits, changing habits requires time and purpose. And this whole entire talk that we're going to have, I'm going to give you 7 different steps to be able to change your habits, which ultimately will help you make the changes you're trying to make in life. Okay, so it's a big talk. I mean, and some people might be saying, well, I want to change my loved one. I'm not even watching this because of myself. I'm only on here because they told me to watch this because my son or daughter has addiction, and this is not what I signed up for. I strongly urge you to watch this if that's the way you think, right? Because when you're able to make changes in your own world, you create the space, the opening for others to make changes in their world. But if you stay closed-minded and just committed to who and what you are, guess what they're going to do? They're going to stay closed-minded and stay committed to who and what they are. Be the change you want to see. Lead by example. Leaders lead from the front. They show the way. They go the way. And if you're trying to lead your loved one to making changes in their life, start with yourself and follow these next 7 steps. So number 1, step 1, and by the way, if you're taking notes, wonderful. And if you're not, when you go on our Facebook, and I only have my Zoom screen up right now, so unfortunately I can't see who's on Facebook and if there's any interactions going on. But on our Facebook, all these videos are available for free every single week. They get saved. And on the description, I have all of the things that I talk about, the summarized Cliff Note version for you. So you can go back and reflect back, and you can kind of get the script of what we're talking about here, at least get the bullet points. So step number 1 is own your change. You have to own it. And what does that mean? If there's an area in your life you want to change, you have to ask yourself this question: who am I making that change for? Am I making it for my spouse, my child, my boss? Am I making it for something external? If that's the case, sometimes that's okay because that'll allow you to start the process. But until you can internalize that change and go from an external to an internal motivation, and to be able to own that change, the commitment to follow through on the steps is going to fall away. It's going to go away. I promise you it's going to go away. There's only so much external motivation can do for a human being. Because as soon as they're not watching, as soon as the pressure is off, as soon as the back's not against the wall anymore, the person reverts right back because they never wanted it to begin with. So the most important question to ask anybody about change is why? Why do you want to make this change? You have to ask yourself, what is my why? A beautiful book that you can read is a book called A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. I won't spoil it for you. Go watch it. Take a recommendation. And that book beautifully illustrates through some of the most horrific circumstances of World War II how a human being can be able to find peace, contentment, despite of their circumstances, because they know the why in life. And because when you know your why, the how takes care of itself. Sometimes external stuff is beautiful for inspiration, for motivation to get us going. When you watch someone doing something that you really want to do, it's a wonderful thing because it gets you going. But again, the flame has to turn on internally. Judy Garland, which is a famous actress, singer, performer, she says, always be a first-rate version of yourself, not a second-rate version of someone else. And this is someone, that quote means a lot coming from her because she always had to be someone for someone else. And they had her performing and acting, and just she never got to really tap into her true authentic self. And maybe we're not Judy Garland, but a lot of people live life like that. A lot of people are going through life not being themselves and wondering why they can't make the changes they want to make. It's a powerful thing. So before you start to make changes in your life, find out who you're doing it for. Once you're able to find that connection to self, the motivation to make the changes is going to increase. It will increase. And so that's the number 1. Number 2 is, step 2 is upgrade your mindset and upgrade your habits. So first of all, when I talk about mindset, this is what I'm actually talking about. The mindset is the lens that you see the world. Okay, this is at least how we're going to be talking about it. I'm sure there's other definitions for it, but for today's talk, the mindset is the lens how you view the world. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your expectations of life, they filter the choices that you make. Okay? So the way I view the world is a byproduct of my thoughts, my beliefs, my expectations of the world. All of those change the choices I make. The choices I make produce the life that I have, right? So the question to reverse engineer there is, where and when did you create your mindset? Carl Jung, which is a very famous psychiatrist, one of the fathers of psychiatry, psychology, psychiatry, he's from Switzerland. He says the most important question a human being can ask themselves is this: what myth am I living? What myth am I living? Why is this such a profound statement? Because there are stories that you tell yourself about yourself that define yourself, about who you are, about what life is, about other human beings. There are stories that you tell yourself. There are stories that you believe to be true. When and where did you make those stories up? Who made those stories up? What I mean by that is this: if there are certain thoughts, beliefs, ideas that I created as a child, and if as a grown adult and human being and a man, if I'm still holding on to the same thoughts, beliefs, and ideas that a child created in the mind of a child as a grown adult, that's on me. That's poor mindset. That's going to lead me to the same outcomes that a child would be led to, because the thinking is stagnated and limited. The same way, when children believe in Santa Claus, and we let them believe in Santa Claus, and you want them to believe in Santa Claus, when the child gets older, imagine someone being 25, 30, 50, 55, 70, saying Santa Claus is still real. There's no difference between the Santa Claus and other things that we gear up and stir up in childhood. Especially a lot of times for those who have been experiencing through trauma, the mind creates even more distortions of reality in life as a byproduct of protection, self-protection against the trauma. So as an adult, you're going with a self-protected mind that doesn't see things clearly, the mindset is weak, and you're wondering, why can't I make changes in life? And you get frustrated. And so what myth am I living? Where did I come up with these stories? And Henry Ford has a wonderful quote. It says, whether you think you can or you can't, you are right. Okay? Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. So if you think you can change in life, you will be able to change. And if you think you can't change in life, you will not change. As simple as that. That's where it all starts and it all ends. So where do you get your mindset from as an adult? Well, tell me what you did yesterday. Tell me what you did last week, last month. Tell me where you went yesterday, where you went last week, last month. Tell me what you watched yesterday, what you watched last week, last month. Tell me who you spent your time with yesterday, last week, last month. We are a byproduct of the things we repeatedly do, the repeatedly hear, repeatedly say, repeatedly think. If you chose to watch mindless television for 4 to 5 hours, eating a bag of potato chips, and you get off that couch and you feel lethargic, depressed, you feel sad about life, the next day you have some few extra pounds on you, you chose that reality because your mindset led you there, right? But if you choose to watch things that stimulate your mind, that teach you, educate you, that nourish you, the next day and as a byproduct of that, you feel healthy, you feel a lot of vitality, you feel motivated, you feel energized, and the next day you actually like the reflection in the mirror. Your mindset is what drives us there. So upgrade your mindset. You know how cell phones get upgraded all the time? If I give you an Apple II or an Apple III, whatever those phones were right now, it won't even work right now. Some people, their mindset is like that Apple. They never upgrade it. They never get the next upgrade that's needed to make it efficiently run. Some people literally, I'm not making this up. I'm a therapist too, by the way, so I've sat with human beings much older than myself. The mindset that they have is the mindset that they had 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. And they're wondering why their life is not improving. Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out. So find out what myth you're telling yourself about life, about others, about yourself, about what you can and can't do. And that's step number 2. Step number 3, you have to go slow in order to go fast. So I use Warren Buffett quotes for you all the time, and I have another one. He says, the chains of habits are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken. I'll say that again. The chains of habit are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken. So such a simple yet sophisticated quote. And I've shared this with you in the beginning of this talk, that where you are today is a byproduct of the habits you've had up until this point. If you don't like where you are, you look back at your habits. And when you look back at your habits, sometimes they're automatic, they're automated, they're cruise control. And when you want to change, they're so heavy that you cannot change them, break them, and get out of that routine. So when do you want to intervene with those? Is before they become ingrained in your way, before they become a part of your identity, before you consider yourself just too lazy or too stupid or too dumb. Because when they're light, we can actually do something about them. And even if they are heavy, so if you say, hey man, that ship sailed a long time ago, I've been wanting to change something for the past 20 years and I can't. And I believe that's who I am. So even if the chains of habit are so heavy for you to break, I'm going to tell you how you can actually break them. And you must develop, okay, this thing called momentum, or AKA the Big Mo. Okay, we're going to call it the Big Mo. And I got the Big Mo from John Maxwell. He uses that. And he says you could use anything that he teaches and teach it to anyone you want to, and he's okay with that. And one of the things he loves the most is when he hears his stuff come back to him, and sometimes even better than what he taught. And that's the beauty of true personal development, is you want everyone to get exposed to it. But here's what the Big Mo is momentum is probably one of the most powerful forces. I mean, it's physics. Objects in motion stay in motion. And in order to go from a stop state to moving, it takes a lot of force. But sometimes small, incidental, like micro movements in the right direction can ultimately begin the forward progress, which creates momentum. So they call them minimal viable changes, MVCs, minimal viable changes. They're small doses, tiny changes that can create a big impact. So when someone tells me they are trying to lose weight, for example, right? Can you, at least one meal a day, replace it with leafy greens, with fruits, with vegetables, with nuts, with seeds, just one meal a day, and eat whatever the heck you want the rest of the day? They say, okay, maybe I could do that. Can you do that for 7 days? Maybe I can do that. If someone's trying to exercise and they haven't been to the gym, they don't want to, they haven't moved their body, can you go walk for 15 to 30 minutes a day? And they say, okay, maybe I could do that. If someone wants to meditate, by the way, this is, they teach people in the program, recovery programs, to meditate, and they say, I can't close my eyes for anything. Can you meditate for 1 minute? Set a timer for 1 minute, close your eyes, deep breath in, hold your breath, feel your lungs expand, exhale the wind out. Can you repeat that 5 or 10 times for a total of 1 minute? And they say, okay, I think I can do that. That's all you got to do. 1 minute a day for 7 days. And they say, okay, I can do that. And if they're trying to read, can you read just 2 or 3 pages a day? If you're trying to write, can you write 1 page a day for 7 days? And what people realize, because I can't do something is just a myth we tell ourselves. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're probably right. So what people realize is by doing something at a very small incremental dose, minimal viable change, that over time they can develop the psychological and emotional muscles and physical muscles to actually do a little bit more. The person that was eating 1 healthy meal a day might be able to have 1.5 healthy meals a day, which, by the way, by just doing something as simple as that, maybe they reduce their caloric intake 500 calories in 1 day. And over a course of 1 week, that's 3,500 calories less than what they were eating. And guess what? Every pound is equal to 3,500 calories. Maybe by walking 15 minutes a day, they're able to have their knees get stronger, their ankles get stronger, their lower back gets stronger, and now they're able to walk 45 minutes a day, which also burns more calories, which improves their posture, which makes them have a more positive self-reflection. Maybe instead of 1 minute a day meditation, they're able to meditate for 5 minutes a day, and that 5 minutes allows them to get recentered, to decrease their cravings, to decrease when they're emotionally dysregulated, to bring them back to equilibrium, to status quo, and it prevents them from drinking and using substances. Maybe the few pages they're trying to read allows them to read 10 pages, 15 pages, finish a freaking book and say, oh my God, I just finished a book for the first time in maybe 30 years. Maybe they're able to write one page in a diary, and before you know it, they have a complete journal of self-care that they're able to reflect back and really process their emotions with. So these small changes create momentum that create habits. If you're trying to change something in your life, don't go all in right away. You're gonna fail at it, especially if you don't have the psychological, emotional, physical muscles to do it. And don't be obsessed about the outcome. It's the process that's important, not the outcome. The outcome will take care of itself. If you do what you need to do, the end result will take care of itself. That's just a fact. I'm not making that up. It's a fact. You have to trust that process, though. How do you trust it? You get in the right mindset, talk to the right people, and just know that what you're doing will get you there. And by the way, here's a wonderful quote, too. In life, overnight, you can't change your destination, but you can change your direction. Okay, I'm going to say that again. In life, overnight, you cannot change your destination. It is impossible to change your destination overnight, but you can make a small change in the direction that you're headed. Over time, that small change in the direction that you're headed will lead you to a different destination. A few degrees off can take you to a whole different world, right? And it all starts with just changing your direction just a little bit. So you have to go slow in order to go fast. Number 4, and there's only 7 of these, by the way, so thank you so much for your time listening to these. My hope is, man, I hope these help, because they helped me a lot. Last night when I was writing this at like 2, 3 in the morning, I was like, oh, this is some good stuff. I can't wait to share this with people. And step 4 is you have to replace your existing habits with new ones. Now, there's a Bruce Lee quote that I love, and he says, it's not the daily increase in life that's important, but the daily decrease. He says to hack away at the non-essentials, at the things that are not essential. Okay, so sometimes in life, it's not adding more and adding more and adding more that's going to make the difference, but it's keeping what you have and subtracting more and subtracting more and subtracting more that leaves you with the energy, the space, the ability to kind of make changes. So what I say by that is this: you look at your life, you look at what you have going on for you, and instead of adding to it, find out what you can take away. Find out if you could take away the certain time that you're spending watching a certain show. Find out if you could take away a certain amount of money that you're spending at a place that's impacting your budget. Find out if you could take away the amount of time you're spending with people that are sucking out your vitality in your soul. Taking away is just as powerful as adding. If not, it's even more powerful, because our time is a limited and finite resource that we have. There's only so much you can do with time, right? So by taking away, you're actually creating more time for yourself to do the things that you need to do to make the changes you want to change. So remember this, even adding a bunch of stuff. So if your plate's already too full and you start adding more stuff to it, so you start adding more stuff to a plate that's already full, it's going to start overflowing. And you might lose some good things because of that. So clear it away, right? Get rid of all the non-essentials in your life. You have non-essentials, trust me. We are by far the most consumer-driven, buying stuff, materialistic country in this whole world. So you have a lot of stuff that you can get rid of, and it's not just manifesting in physical stuff, it's other stuff, which we'll talk about next on point number 5. So step 4 is replace your existing habits with new ones, right? Remove what you got to do and then add the new ones in there. The next one, actually it's almost 10:30, sparkling water time. Those of you who've been doing this, you've seen me. This is the same water as last week. It's a German Gerolsteiner mineral water from Trader Joe's. I believe it's German. It has a lot of minerals in it. And for people that sweat a lot, I'm doing a lot of hot yoga, you lose not just hydration and water, you also lose a lot of minerals, and you have to make sure you're replenishing them. This stuff tastes great. You can buy it by the case. Really good stuff. I'm really parched right now, but let's get going. There's only a few more here. Number 5, this one is important. people see this as a sign of weakness, but it is a sign of strength. And step 5 says, get an accountability partner. Okay? Accountability is the glue that bonds commitment with results. So you're trying to change your life? You trying to get some results in your life? Are you failing to get the results that you're looking to get? Well, get a little accountability in there, because that's the glue that's going to help you bond your commitment that you have to change, which I know you do, with the results you want. So if you're trying to get your commitment and the results to connect together, there's a little glue that goes in the middle right there, and that's called accountability. So use that glue. It will help. And I've already defined commitment to you before in the past. And commitment is this. It's the willingness to continue doing something after the initial motivation and excitement has worn off. So anybody can start something. Not many people finish what they start. And people get committed, they get excited, they're motivated, they're enthusiastic. But as soon as like the initial buzz goes off, they kind of like do their own thing. Well, with accountability, when that buzz is wearing off, you have to continue showing up, right? With an accountability partner. And you want to get help from someone that either has what you want, has been there, done that, knows knowledge, experience, and or someone that you just care for or are invested in. I know my wife and I, back in February before COVID, we did this 30-day hot yoga challenge. And there was probably, and that's 30 consecutive days of hot yoga. And it was called the February Self-Love Challenge. And there was probably 10 days of the 30 days that there was no way in heck I would have gone if it wasn't for her. And there was probably the same amount of days, maybe on different days, that she wouldn't have gone if it wasn't for me. And there was a big board that they had inside the yoga studio that every time you would go there, you would initial yourself and mark, that you were present. And without that board, there was probably some days that both of us wouldn't have gone. And what it does is at the end of it, we were able to finish all, the whole entire challenge. But the power of accountability was something that helped us get through that, right? To finish that thing. And there's actually data and statistics on this. So first of all, if you have a goal in life and you don't have a plan, it's just a wish. So a goal without a plan is just a wish. So some people say, I want to do this, but they have no plan. They have nothing written down of how they're going to do it, when they're going to do it, what steps they're going to take to do it. It's not going to happen. I don't even waste my time with something like that. If someone tells me they're trying to make a change in their life and I say, let me see your plan. If they say, well, I don't have a plan. I say, all right, well, take the wishful thinking somewhere else. But people that have a written goal, so they have a how, a when, a time frame, they have specific steps they're going to do it, they're measurable. But if they don't have any accountability for it, their odds of finishing that goal is actually less than 50%. So even with a well-devised plan, the odds of finishing is less than 50%. Now, people that have a well-created, established plan for their goal, they have a written time frame that's specific, it's measurable, they have some accountability, it's realistic, it's bound by time. And they also have an accountability partner, someone that's going to be there with them each step of the way, whether they're walking together, dieting together, learning something, going to school together. The odds of those people finishing goes above 90%. 90. It's an A in any classroom in the world. Why not be a part of that 90%? So I'm going to give you a homework assignment after this talk, and it's going to be, one of these is going to be to get an accountability partner. I'm big on accountability personally. Anytime I have a big project or a goal or a deadline, or I'm creating a program, my partners, my coworkers, they all know this, that I just set up a date. I say, hey, this is the date that it's going to be all done. And even if I have nothing ready for it yet, and then I start making the plan going backwards. Time frames, schedules, meetings, content. I go backwards, and then I have my reverse engineer. I just move forward. And that deadline is so much external pressure, but what it does is it just allows me to finish tasks. People don't create that deadline for themselves. They keep everything open-ended, wondering why that day never comes. You got to create that day. You got to be invested in your own story and your own journey. So accountability partner is huge. This next one's my favorite one, step 6. And it's because it's design your right environment, okay? And in life, you have to control your clutter or it will control you, okay? Now, when I'm talking about clutter, I'm not just talking about physical items. Physical items is absolutely one of those things, and we'll talk about that. But I'm also talking about unmade decisions. So if you have a bunch of decisions in your life that you need to make and you haven't made them, that is called psychological clutter. Okay? That is called clutter. Unmade decisions are cluttered. Unfinished business. If you have phone calls you need to make, places you need to go, loose ends you have to tie up, those are all clutter. They could be behavioral clutter, they could be psychological, emotional clutter. It takes up space. It's in your environment. It lives with you each moment of the day. If you have toxic relationships, yes, human beings can be clutter. If you have toxic relationships in your life that can constantly suck out your energy, they zap you, they drain you, they do exactly what the opposite of a cell phone charger does. You know, a cell phone charger, you plug it in the wall and it fills you up. These people, you plug it in the wall and it zaps out your energy. Those are considered clutter. So what is clutter? It's anything that gets in the way of you in accomplishing the changes and the goals you have in your life. Anything. And psychological, emotional, spiritual, it could be people, places, and things. And also, let's talk about it, physical clutter as well. If your space, if your room, if your house, if your office, if your car has a bunch of junk in it, if it has a bunch of stuff in it, I would strongly suggest you take a look and have maybe a decluttering party. You know, one of my favorite podcasts is the Minimalist podcast. I listen to it every Tuesday on the way to work, and it's to live a meaningful life with less. And the whole point of that is to be able to remove the things in your life that don't really bring you joy or don't bring you any type of that don't create the environment that you're looking for, in order to fill it with things that mean something, right? I've shared this with you. I'm a proud minimalist. I live a very, I buy nice things, but I don't buy many nice things. I have nice things, but I don't own many nice things. And my closet, my laundry takes me about 30 minutes a week to finish because there's not that much stuff to do. The house is always very minimally aesthetically. It looks nice, but there's not that much stuff. The drawers are all empty. The closets are all empty. And it got rid of a lot of stuff. And that was a painful process, you know, to get rid of years and 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 years of worth stuff. If you ever come to my office at Buckeye Recovery Network, I have the smallest office in the building. My office is probably the size of a water, you know, like where they keep the storage, the mops and stuff like that. It's probably that size. And I have 2 little chairs in there, and I have a stand-up little place for my laptop, and that's it. You know, it's I like to have nothing around and have the space be clean so I can think. So you have to design the right environment. There's people that want to make changes in their life, but they look around and they're just like, what's the point? And by the way, it's really freeing. It's psychologically freeing the more you let go of clutter. And I'm not just talking about letting go of things. I'm talking about people, places, and things. Give it a try. And you have to be deliberate with who you bring into your life. You have to be deliberate with what you bring into your life, and you have to be deliberate with your space. It's your space, and your space is what helps you or hurts you from achieving the goals you're trying to achieve in life. So, strongly recommend looking into it. Read, go on the Minimalist podcast, check it out, read their book. It's cool stuff. Why not? It helped me out a lot in life. Simplicity is a beautiful thing, my friends. And the last one, step 7, is one habit at a time. So Steve Jobs actually says that focusing is more about saying no. So I know a lot of people that say, hey, I just can't focus. That's one way to put it. But what they're actually telling me is, hey, I have to say yes to everything else. Because true focus means you say no to everything else except the thing that you're focusing on. And clients, this morning they tell me, hey, I just have a focusing problem. I got a really bad case of ADHD, or I can't pay attention. Sometimes that's the case, but more times than not, let me tell you this. If I ask them, what is it you like? What is it you like to watch? What do you like to talk about? What are your hobbies? What are your passions? They can pay attention. They can focus. They can talk. They can be engaged. They can be fully present in the moment because it's something that they choose to focus on because they like it, they enjoy it. And in life, when you're trying to make changes in life, you can't just pick the things you want. You have to learn how to say no to certain things. You have to learn how to say no to external stimuli, to the pleasures in life, to a lot of stuff in life that you normally want, the comforts in life. You have to say no, or else you're not going to get there. So it's important to focus at one thing at a time because it helps you get tunnel vision a little bit more. Also, you never want to underestimate the power that we have as human beings, but you never want to overestimate it either. So, some people want to go learn one instrument, or they want to learn, a language. Maybe you can do it with one at a time if you really spend a lot of time with it. But imagine learning 3 things at once, 3 languages at once. Impossible. 3 instruments at once. Impossible. And people do that with their goals for some reason. They set like 5 different goals in their life they want to change, and they start working on all of them, wondering what the heck is going on? Why can't I do it? Well, what did you expect? Work on one so you can focus on it, right? Make small incremental changes and gain the momentum needed, get accountability, and create your environment to be able to actually make an impact on that habit, then move on to the next one. So I have a homework here, and after this, it's going to be done. So I have about like 5 minutes left and take my dog to a haircut appointment. I'm excited about that. So here we go. This is the homework assignment, completely voluntary. Again, this whole assignment will be on our Facebook description. Feel free to go watch the video there. While you're there, please like our Facebook page. I would appreciate that. And share the video with anyone you want. Totally welcome to. But I want you to think of what's one area in your life that you want to make a change in. So I'm not saying all the areas in your life. You got to be super specific here. What's one area in your life that you want to make a change in? Okay? And then once you have that written down, and you can write down a bunch of them and then narrow it down to one. So it's like a brainstorming exercise is always welcome, and I always think it's healthy to do. But you have to identify, the next step is, who are you making that change for? Is it for yourself? Is it for someone else? Is it yours to own, or is it just to appease somebody else? You need to narrow it down to the fact that you're making this change for yourself, and then you got to own it. This is yours. This is your change. This is your baby. This is your project. This is something that you're going to care for this process, to see what happens. It's like an experiment. You're going to own it. You're going to own this change. And then once you have it, kind of grasp it in your hand or have it on a piece of paper, if you will, whatever that is, visualize it. You want to explore your mindset related to it. So how and when and where did you create the mindset about what this is? So whether this is your health, your nutrition, whether this is your finances, whether this is your relationships, whether this is your trust, whether this is the career you have, the education, whatever it is, when and where did you create your mindset about it? And then what are you feeding it? Right? So is it something you learned years and years ago and you're still holding on to it? Are you learning anything new about it? Are you willing to upgrade your mindset, get the newest upgrade version installed into your mind to kind of improve your functioning, if you will? And once you do that, I need you to examine the current habits you have in that area. So this is the most important element of this homework assignment. Examine the habits you have. Why? Because the habits that you have in this area have led you to where you are today. Where you are today in that one area is a byproduct of all the habits you've had over an extended period of time. So you go back and explore your habits, and that's where you're going to find what you need to do. And here's the thing. The reason I say habits are because habits are things we do we do them all the time. And people can put on a face and act a certain way in front of people, but your habits go with you when people aren't around. Your habits show up when people aren't around. So you want to explore those honestly. To thine own self be true. Own this thing and look at your habits that you have in this thing. If your habits is every time you're emotionally and sad and you eat a bunch of carbs and sweets and desserts and stuff like that, own it. You have to really, really, really look into that. And what I need you to do from there is, in life, once you have your habits, you have to go slow in order to go fast. So make minimal changes. I don't know what they are for you, but just as small as possible. The smallest little changes will lead you to a completely different destination. A change in direction will change your destination over time. okay? And then design your optimal environment for success. So you have this little baby that you're trying to change. You're responsible for the environment that it has, the people, places, and things with it. If you have to remove some things from your life for until you work on this, do it. If they get offended, if you feel uncomfortable, whatever it is, just do it, because you owe it to this change, because it's yours. You own it, to see what you can do. Toxic people, leave them. Toxic decisions, if you know you're going to go to a certain person's house and eat a bunch of things you shouldn't be eating, don't go there. You know, let them know you don't want it. If you know that you're going to end up watching 8 hours of television, if you watch one episode, don't watch that one episode. Whatever it is, make the changes, clean your environment. If you got clutter, open up your drawers, throw away the stuff you don't. If you have a junk drawer today, go clean your junk drawer. Simple as that. Just open up your drawer, all the things that you throw in there, take it all out, throw away whatever you don't need, right? It's an exercise. And remember, one goal at a time. So if you have one thing that you're trying to change and you own it, don't put a bunch of things in there. It's more about what you remove than what you add in life. Remember that. And so what area will you transform in? Man, that's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Imagine any area in your life that you want to transform in. You actually have the 7-step formula to actually make that happen. And if you are not sure, if not now, then please answer my question of when. When are you going to do it? The magical time in the future that all the circumstances and the environment's going to be right and perfect for you to be able to do it? Are you waiting for someone else to change before you can change? That's always a good one. Well, whenever he or she changes, then I can change too. Yeah, keep telling yourself that one, my friends. So it's 10:45 on a beautiful Saturday. I really enjoyed this one. I was a little tired, so hopefully you guys couldn't tell. I was able to mask it through a little bit of caffeine and some water. But I look forward to being back here next week at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for another personal development. I believe it'll be our 4th one. So please do the homework, share the homework, talk about the homework, and go get an accountability partner today. All right. Love and appreciate all of you. Have a wonderful Saturday and a great rest of your weekend.